We're about to break down our Vikings vs. Panthers preview, but first, if you want the Vikings to win this week, then like today's video. I'm not saying if you don't like it, that means Minnesota will lose. I'm not that superstitious, but I am a little stitious. And I'm just saying, if you're the guy or girl who doesn't like this video and the Panthers win, you're going to end up feeling bad. So send some good energy into the universe and like this video if you want the Vikings to take down the Panthers this week. The Minnesota Vikings are on the road in Week 6 against the Carolina Panthers, and yet it is the Vikings who are the favorites in this matchup by 2. A line, by the way, that has actually moved up a little bit. Just before the start of filming, it jumped from 1 to 2, which is a pretty big jump. Maybe that has something to do with Dalvin Cook, who we'll get to here, and Christian McCaffrey on the flip side in a little bit. The Vikings might have the worst record this year at 2-3, but they're not far removed from having 3 or 4 and maybe even 5 wins. A brutal overtime loss against the Bengals, a game they probably should have won. Same against Arizona, 34-33, a good Cardinals team. Seattle, they won that one 30-17, A loss against the Browns, low scoring, kind of ugly, 14-7. And then they held on against the Lions, 19-17. Both blew that game and rallied to win, so I guess it was fair in the end. Carolina, meanwhile, began the year strong, a 19-14 win over the New York Jets, a 26-7 win over the Saints, and a 24-9 win over a bad Texans team. The last 2 weeks, however, not so great for Carolina. A 36-28 loss against the Cowboys that was not as close as the score might indicate, and a 3-point loss at home last week to Philadelphia, a game that Carolina absolutely should have won. So the Week 6 odds then have the Vikings favored by 2, which I think makes some sense. I think the Vikings have shown they can compete with almost any team, and if they can close games, they could put themselves back in the playoff race. This matchup, Minnesota-Carolina, given where Green Bay and Tampa's at this year, probably indicative of a matchup for teams that are going to be fighting for a wild card spot this year. So I want you guys to predict the score for me in the comments section. Vikings, Panthers. I assume most of you are going with Carolina. That's the case. Cool. Get your votes in for me. Let me know who you got winning in the comments section. I'll make my prediction right now here. Minnesota 24, Carolina 23. The Vikings only play close games. Now, I made this prediction before the line had moved, so I still think Minnesota's got a good chance to cover that initial, at least match that 1-point line. I think Minnesota gets a huge win on the road against Carolina, who may or may not have Christian McCaffrey. Remember, McCaffrey did not practice Thursday for Carolina, unlike Dalvin Cook, who did return in full fashion to the Minnesota Vikings for Thursday's practice. That's a really good sign for his health. He did not participate on Wednesday, then got the big jump up. That is a very good sign for me that Cook will be out there this week, probably close to a full workload against Carolina. I think Minnesota wanted to give Dalvin Cook a week off to get him more healthy. I think that's the path that they're taking. I'm very pleased. I thought Cook might be limited on Thursday. Instead, a full participant. That's a good sign. The Vikings, even if Cook is a bit banged up, also have Alexander Mattison, who is also actually a bit banged up. We'll get more in depth on that here in just a minute. Cook, despite not having that long 48-yard run like Mattison has been more productive this year on the ground, even if not quite at his normal level of top 2, top 3, top whatever dominance we expect out of Cook. The Panthers' run defense has been good outside of the game against the Dallas Cowboys, one of the better running teams in the NFL this year. So what do you think? Will Dalvin Cook run for 100 yards against the Panthers? Will Dalvin Cook get? Now, you got it. Yeah, producer Marshall got it there. So get your votes in with my crappy puns. Y for yes or N for no. Let's look now at the full Vikings injury report. First, the guys who were involved in some capacity, not including Dalvin Cook, because we just spent so much time on him. Ihmir-Smith, Marsette, full participant on Thursday with a toe. He's fine. Nick Vigil's ankle was fine. Alexander Mattison went from did not participate to limited on Wednesday and Thursday with a shoulder issue. I think he'll be okay. Good news, Anthony Barr, who missed Wednesday's practice, was limited on Thursday. Promising sign there. The Vikings need him. More good news, Cameron Dantzler, who was on the COVID list last week. We will get back to him later on in today's video near the end. He was limited in his return to practice. That's a more just pacing thing. He should be good to go, I think, this week. Guys who did not participate, and there's some red flags here. Michael Pierce, I don't know if he's going to be able to go. I'd lean towards no. Ben Elfson has a knee. That's concern for their depth. Both receivers, the two stars, Justin Jefferson with an ankle, Adam Thielen with a foot, did not participate. Now, those guys don't need very many reps, but not going on Thursday, even in a limited fashion, is a bit of a red flag for Minnesota. Let's look now at the Panthers' offense against the Vikings' defense. Carolina this year on offense has pretty much been league average. Points per game, right in the middle. Yards per game, right in the middle. Passing yards a bit above, rushing yards a bit below, turnovers a little bit high. This Panthers offense shouldn't really scare you. And we'll spend some more time on Sam Darnold. He should not scare you either. The Vikings defense has been a bit inconsistent in their results. Takeaways not great. The points per game are fine. The rushing yards has not been what they've needed it to be, but if Christian McCaffrey can't go, I think you begin to feel better about that if you're the Vikings with this particular matchup. Now, Sam Darnold, of course, is the Carolina Panthers starting quarterback, and he began the year really great. He also has a bunch of rushing touchdowns this year, which, that helps us, especially stats like QBR. But after that strong start, Darnold has, especially the last 2 weeks in particular, has very much cooled off. He's still being more accurate, but when his first read is not there, the production tends to fall apart. 10 touchdowns passing against 6 INTs. His QBR is just above average. He's not as bad as he was with the Jets. Is he the franchise answer for Carolina? I don't know. Is he better than Kirk Cousins? No. He is not. He does, however, have a dynamic number one wide receiver, and that is DJ Moore, who has lived inside, outside, middle of the field, boundary, whatever. He's done a great job for Carolina. 35 catches, 440 yards this year, 3 touchdowns. I have been impressed by DJ Moore. That is the player that concerns me on the Carolina Panthers offense, especially if Christian McCaffrey is unable to go. Patrick Peterson, he's not what he once was in his prime. And I hope that with Cam Dantzler now being cleared from that COVID list, it means that he will start over Bashaud Breeland, because I know most of you agree with me. For whatever reason, something weird has gone on this season with Cam Dantzler and this Vikings coaching staff. It is what it is. At this point, I would simply request that the Minnesota Vikings start Cam Dantzler. I believe that is the best route for this team. Getting him out there and starting him at corner opposite Patrick Peterson. If you agree with me, then type in me in the comment section, because I think Dantzler's your second best corner at worst on this team. Now, got to be fully cleared at whatever. I say start him. Type me if you're with me in the comments. And while you guys are down there, make sure you are subscribed. It's very simple here at Vikings Now. The more subscribers that we get, the more videos we can do for you guys. It's a competition here with all our different Chat Sports team channels. If you want more videos for free, hit that big red button and subscribe today. To the other side of the ball now, the Vikings offense. Again, the rushing offense hasn't been as expected. 15th isn't bad. It's above average technically, but you would expect maybe you get rid of the one that's 5th in the NFL. The Vikings done a good job of not turning the football over. The points per game is much lower than the yards, indicative of a team that struggles to finish drives and has a kicking problem as well. Carolina, meanwhile, this is how they've won games. This defense, despite not having a great takeaway figure, has been awesome. Top 3 in points per game, 2nd in total yards, 1st in passing yards allowed, and 8th in rushing yards, in large part because the Cowboys' offense ran over. Everyone else has not had much success. This Panthers defense is a tricky one. I've been very impressed by what Phil Snow, their defensive coordinator, has done. He mixes and matches coverages and schemes, disguises the formation, the fronts, does a lot of creative things, tries to make it difficult on your quarterback. Kirk Cousins will have to be on his A game from a pre-snap perspective. The Panthers, as they've shown before, can confuse your starting quarterback. It's a bit of an issue for Cousins. Nice completion percentage, got to finish drives a little bit better. Now, I think and hope still that both Thielen and Jefferson are out there this week. So who do you think ends up being wide receiver one in a matchup that, if these guys are good to go, I think favors Minnesota? Type J for Jefferson or type in T for Adam Thielen. And the Panthers have a good pass rush. They've gotten success there. Their cornerback room, part because of injuries, is a bit of a problem right now. Dante Jackson, good player. Keith Taylor, not great. A.J. Boye, fine as a nickel. Rashawn Melvin is washed. C.J. Henderson hasn't really gotten up to speed. He's been playing behind Keith Taylor, a late round pick, I think 7th or 6th this past year. Stephon Gilmore is not back yet. With the strengths and weaknesses for this Panthers defense, it needs to be a big day for Jefferson and or Thielen for Minnesota to win.